That's just something very crucial. Why so? Because we have an example of Manipur, which as we speak is undergoing violent clashes. And then we have another issue emanating in Assam regarding the delimitation. Now, some parties are claiming that the Election Commission's directive, the draft on delimitation, is not in favor of the minority Muslim community. There is a growing dissatisfaction in Assam's predominantly Bengali-speaking Barak Valley regarding the Election Commission's preliminary delimitation proposal for the state. Several political parties, including the Congress, the AIUDF, have called for a bandh to express their opposition to the plan of decreasing the number of assembly seats in the valley. So, what is the issue? Last week, the Election Commission released a preliminary proposal for the delimitation of Lok Sabha and Assembly constituencies in Assam, marking the first delimitation exercise in the state since 1976. The draft maintains the current number of Lok Sabha seats, which stands at 14, and Assembly seats at 126 constituencies. However, it suggests modifications to boundaries and names, as well as the addition of new constituencies in certain areas and reduction in others. Specifically, the draft proposes a decrease in the number of assembly constituencies from 15 to 13 in the three districts of Barak Valley, namely Kachar, Hailakandi and Karimganj, which have triggered protests from political leaders in the region, and hence the protest, the bandh has been called in. Before we go any further, let's listen into some reactions which are very critical to the developing situation, starting with the Chief Minister of Assam, Himanta Biswa Sarma.
কেইদিনমান আগতে অসম সরকার ভাৰত সরকাৰৰ প্ৰচেষ্টাত নিৰ্বাচনী আয়োগে আমাৰ অসমৰ সমষ্টিবিলাকৰ পুনৰ বিন্যাসৰ এখন খচৰা প্ৰস্তুত কৰিলে। এই খচৰাখন যদি সম্পূৰ্ণ হয় আৰু এই খচৰাখন যদি বাস্তৱত ৰূপায়িত হয়, 102টা সমষ্টিৰ ওপৰত অসমবাসীৰ গুৰুত্ব থাকিব, অসমবাসীয়ে প্ৰতিনিধি নিৰ্বাচন কৰিব পাৰিব। আজি আমি জাতি মাটি ভেটিৰ সংকল্প লৈছিলো, আজি আমি সেই সংকল্পক বাস্তৱত ৰূপায়িত কৰাৰ দিশত আজি আমি আগবাঢ়ি গৈছো। আমাৰ অসমখন কেতিয়াও যাতে আমাৰ অপৰিচিত ব্যক্তিসকলৰ ওচৰত যাব নোৱাৰে, ৰাজনৈতিকভাৱে আমাৰ ক্ষমতা সদায় যাতে অসমবাসীৰ হাতত থাকিব পাৰে, তাৰ বাবে আমি এটা এটাকৈ জাতি মাটি ভেটি সুৰক্ষাৰ বাবে কাম কৰিছিলো। অসম চুক্তিয়ে আমাক যি সুফল দেখুৱাব পৰা নাছিল, এনআৰচিয়ে আমাক যি দিব পৰা নাছিল, আজি সমষ্টিবিলাকৰ পুনৰ বিন্যাসৰ জৰিয়তে অহা 30 বছৰলৈ আমি অসমবাসীক সুৰক্ষিত কৰাৰ দিশত আগবাঢ়িছো।
Our state are getting a delimitation after 52 years. Last delimitation was in 1976 in the basis of the 1971 census. So after 30 years, 2001 census is base and prepare it in 2023-24. Ultimately, 52 years, after 52 years, we are getting a delimitation process. Actually, 2008, there was a nationwide delimitation, but at the time our state was not included in this process. Our question is very clear that 2023 delimitation is going to be started already notified. But why 2021 census is not accepted? What is the cause behind it? Our situation is very clear. So why it is in midterm? Why in 2024 or 23? Why it is not 2026? In 2026, all over the country, all over the nation, delimitation process will be start. And at the same time, the number of the constituencies, parliamentary constituencies, number of the assembly constituencies will be increased. And in this process, in this exercise of the delimitation, our not a single number is increased. As it is 14 seats is as it is in parliamentary and 126 as assembly, it is remain same. So ultimately, why it necessary?
We BJP Assam Pradesh welcome the draft delimitation proposal published by Election Commission of India, because we feel that the interest and the right of the indigenous people of Assam are well reflected in each and every proposal of the draft delimitation. And we are also experiencing that people of Assam, irrespective of caste, community, or political ideology, from every corners, from nooks and corners of the state, people are appreciating Election Commission for publishing such a draft which will protect, preserve the identity, the right, and the benefits of the local people, indigenous people of Assam. So, along with the people of Assam, we, the BJP, Assam Pradesh, also appreciate and welcome the draft delimitation proposal.
So there we heard the opinion and from both the sides how this delimitation draft proposal is being viewed. To discuss this matter further, we are joined by a very known face on News9 Live, Mr. Subir Bhaumik, author and senior journalist, Northeast region. Thank you, Dada, once again for taking time out for News9 Live. Always appreciate your time and inputs here. Dada, we have heard you and your inputs as far as Manipur situation is concerned. Now, talking of another northeastern state of Assam, the delimitation aspect, starting from the beginning, could you please share with us the history and how it is happening after 26 years and the delimitation in Assam, and why is it being carried out in Assam now?
Well, why it is carried out in Assam now is a thing that both the state government and also the Election Commission will have to answer. Because anything that you do going out of the way in Assam will raise heckles. And the reason for that is that, you had the clip of the BJP gentleman, Mr. Margarita speaking, and you also heard Aminul Islam. I mean, we can genuinely understand that when the accent of this whole exercise is on protecting the interests of the local people, in Assam, some say local people, and indigenous people, automatically there is a fear that people who are not considered to be indigenous by the so-called indigenous people, they are in for trouble. And the reason why these minority groups are worried about this exercise is the experience they had during updating of the National Register of Citizens. Well, as you know, the NRC is very typical to Assam. It's not something that happens elsewhere in the country. Now, of course, there are demands by various quote-unquote indigenous groups. And I don't want to get into this debate about who is indigenous and who is not. There are all kinds of angles to it. But those who consider themselves indigenous and don't consider some of the other people living in the state as indigenous and want to other them, now these people who were othered or who have been othered historically in Assam face the brunt of the NRC exercise. Their names were not there. 2 million people, to nearly 20 lakh people found themselves excluded from the National Register of Citizens. And, it's not the people who are excluded who are raising the heckles, who are saying that they have been unjustly, taken out of the NRC. But now even Hemanta Biswa Sharma, the Chief Minister of Assam, has said that he is not happy with it. They want the NRC to be done again. Now when these things happen, there is an atmosphere of witch hunt. And some people who don't exactly qualify automatically as indigenous because their mother tongue is not Assamese in Assam or Meitei in Manipur, they feel threatened. The fact is that Assam, like Manipur, is a multilingual, multi-religious state and multiracial as well. But the point is that some people in both these states consider themselves to be indigenous and don't consider others to be sons of the soil, others to be legitimate residents of the state and want them thrown out. And you have seen this since the Assam agitation, which was targeting Bengali-speaking people mostly, and also Nepali-speaking people. So, for historical reasons, And especially because this delimitation exercise now comes slightly ahead of due time and immediately after the NRC exercise, that there are understandable concerns among the minority communities, the people who suffered due to the NRC exercise. But on the other hand, you have to have delimitation from time to time. It's a constitutional process. It's part of the process of India's ballot box democracy, that you need to update the voter lists, you need to update all these things, and you need to delimit constituencies to actually be, to actually fit in the criterion of representation, so that, people are adequately represented in the parliament and in the assembly. So this is an exercise that has to happen. The only thing is, this has to happen in a way which does not target bona fide Indian citizens who have all the bona fides of Indian citizens, but who are othered in the state of Assam and also in Manipur, was considered as others by so-called quote-unquote indigenous population. Therefore, the exercise has to be fair, and it should not aim at reducing the importance of any particular community. This whole exercise of Jor Tod, as it is loosely called, that you do delimitation in a way, in a very, sort of calculated way, that the importance of, the electoral, the importance of the vote of some community is deliberately sort of marginalized or neutralized through this exercise about delimitation. Now, there are understandable concerns about that.
Right.
And it's important that the Election Commission does it in a way that is seen as fair. Otherwise, there will be understandably allegations coming from certain communities in Assam that Election Commission is the mouthpiece of the government. They're doing what the government is doing. It's not an independent institution, which it should be. So, three things very important. One, the whole exercise should have happened along with the rest of the country. But if it is done in Assam now, no issue if it is done properly, and if it does not target any particular community. It should also ensure that it's done in keeping with the broad criterion of delimitation that is used in the rest of the country. Something specific to Assam, should not be started so that, some people feel marginalized, neutralized by this whole exercise. And last but not the least, if some communities, everybody in India has a right to protest, and if somebody is protesting, non-violently, that should be allowed to happen rather than being crushed by brutal force, as had happened sometimes in the Northeast, in Assam particularly. So these are the three issues that have to be kept in mind as the exercise goes ahead. It's fine that the exercise happens, delimitation has to happen, but the important thing is how it is done. It's not a question about why it is done. The why question is settled because it has to happen. The how question is important.
Right. Talking about indigenous people, talking about the possible NRC delimitation connect, if going a little further, if I may take the liberty here, and we are also, as we speak, we are waiting for distinguished guest from who was formerly with Election Commission. But let me take the liberty and ask you this. Why the Election Commission's Assam delimitation proposal is being seen as communal, if I can be very direct here? The BJP has given a thumbs up to the draft, which many say could actually be leading to a reduction in Muslim representation. Now, is this the time to address the elephant in the room about it is particularly allegedly being targeted and being brought in order to target a particular community?
Well, the heckles that has been raised by elements in the Muslim communities because of the displayed over enthusiasm of the BJP and some of the other organizations which claim to represent the indigenous people of Assam, i.e. Assamese-speaking people. The point is that even the Bengali Muslims in Brahmaputra Valley speaks Assamese, and they consider themselves as No Khomia, which means Neo-Assamese, but who are derided as Mia, which is a very derogatory term in the Assam context. The point I'm trying to make here is that the elephant in the room is not the exercise per se. The elephant in the room is the over-enthusiasm, displayed over-enthusiasm, I would insist, of the BJP and some of the other people who claim to represent indigenous interests. When they say that this draft is going to protect the interest of the indigenous people in 102 seats out of the 126, it means that, at the moment, there are many more seats which return Muslim candidates because the Muslims are in large number in those areas. It means that this draft delimitation would have actually done the exercise in a way by attaching certain Muslim areas, breaking them up, attaching them to other constituencies where Assamese Hindus are in minority or some other ethnic groups are in minority, so that, how it happens in multilingual, multiracial and multi-ethnic societies like Assam, is that if one particular community is preponderant in a constituency, political parties tend to give the ticket to somebody from that community. Now, let me give you an example. If in some constituency, the Muslims are 60% of the population, and in Assam, Assamese Muslims are a small minority. The most of the Muslims are people of East Bengali origin, i.e. people who have come from East Pakistan, East Bengal, or what is now Bangladesh. Now, these people in some constituencies, say like Dobri, are between 60 to 80% of the population. And usually you would then expect the parties, political parties, to field a candidate who belongs to this community. That's the trend. Right. Except West Bengal, this is the trend in the rest of the country. West Bengal, during left rule, we have seen Tridip Chaudhary, RSP man, standing from Murshidabad, 70-80% Muslims, but that's an ideological thing. The elections, the left would take it on ideological lines. It's not important who is the candidate, which community he comes from. It's important which party he represents and what ideology. But in Assam, usually, if there is 60%, 65% Muslim population in a particular seat, you will then see a candidate. Invariably, the political party will field a candidate from that community. Now, if through the delimitation, that constituency having 60% Muslim seat, some parts of it are attached to neighboring constituencies, which are obviously Hindu majority, then this constituency will not have 60% Muslims, it will have, let us say, 40%.
Right, Dada.
And then other political parties, including the secular parties, will tend to field a particular candidate who is not Muslim. Right. And then what happens? Then obviously it has an impact on the overall Muslim representation. Is that, the percentage the population percentage does not translate into the electoral percentage.
Right.
And that's
so that
the fear.
Catches there.
That catches there. And that is the fear of people like Aminul Islam, I understand. And in view of the history of these kind of exercises in Assam, some of these fears are bona fide fears. And that much I can say. Because we have seen the NRC exercise. We have seen how many genuine Indian citizens whose names were not included in the NRC have committed suicides. So, these things are well known. And look at this interesting thing about NRC. There was a point of time when Pratik Hajela, who was the NRC coordinator, was idolized by the quote-unquote indigenous community. He was the hero. That he is the man who is going to throw out infiltrators and illegal migrants. Now he's the villain. There are people who want to take Pratik Hajela to court and blame him for doing an inadequate, improper NRC, quote-unquote again. And he is the villain of the peace, and even some very senior people in the state administration are
Right.
openly saying that this NRC exercise has to be done again.
Right. Dada,
My point is,
we are also joined
Sorry.
by. I'm sorry to stop. Your inputs much appreciated here. But we also welcome Chandraprakash Sharma, senior journalist who is joining us now on the broadcast. Welcome to News9 Live, Mr. Sharma. Now, the situation as of now that is unfolding in Assam, obviously three key regions of Kachar, Hailakandi and Karimganj. For the benefit of our viewers, I would like you first to throw some light on these particular areas. What is so specific about it? Why the protests are marking their presence in these areas? And secondly, the timing of the delimitation to begin with from your side.
Actually, you have to go into the history of Assam to understand the delimitation process. As you know that Assam is always very sensitive towards the infiltration issue, especially from Bangladesh, the Bangladeshi Mia, as they call them. So the people have insecurity that they will, Assam will become another Tripura or Kashmir. So this is the main concern of the people of Assam. So entire process is being carried out by BJP is actually in keeping view the regional sentiments, because they know that it's very difficult to unite people of Assam, always giving them Hindutva slogan. So this is the problem. Now they know. You see, after Sarvanand Sonowal's departure from chief ministership and ascendancy of Himanta Biswa Sarma, he is a caste Assamese. He is a Brahmin, and most of the population in Assam, especially, is dominated by the tribal people. Sonowal was a tribal chief minister. Now he is a caste Okhomia. So there is a discontent among many tribes against Himanta Biswa Sarma itself, because he belongs to high caste. So in the next election or the ensuing Lok Sabha, which is coming up in 2024, it will be very difficult for the BJP to repeat its performance as they won 9 seats in the last Lok Sabha election. So entire process is being carried out keeping in view Lok Sabha elections and next assembly elections.
Right.
But the objection which is being raised by the opposition parties or the people are not just limited to this exercise of delimitation. There are deep-rooted conspiracy which people see will divide the demography of Assam, will divide the people of Assam along religious line. You see, almost 30% population of Assam is Muslim population. They are Bengali-speaking, mostly Bengali-speaking. The Kachar and the Silchar and Karimganj, all these districts are mainly dominated by the Muslim populace. Most of the area after delimitations, all these area you see you will have less number of Muslim representative in the assembly or in the Lok Sabha. That is the fear of Muslim community, despite they constitute a major part of the population of Assam.
Right.
And one more thing, the opposition parties are raising objections for this delimitation process because the delimitation process is being carried out on the basis of 2001 census. Whereas 2011 census was carried out. But after 2011, so far no census was carried out in last 12 years. It is already overdue. It should have been carried out, but after BJP coming to the power, they promised NRC, that NRC will be updated. Although NRC process was started during Tarun Gogoi's tenure, what happened to NRC? People of Assam, especially the Khilonjiya people or the indigenous people, they too are not fully satisfied with this process, of delimitation.
Right. That's what Mr. Sharma.
They are demanding constitutional guarantee.
Absolutely.
Constitutional guarantee and 100% or 80% reservation for the indigenous people.
And that's
no
why,
delimitation process.
and that's why I get your point, Mr. Sharma. Very valid point here. That's why the Chief Minister has been harping on the issue of the indigenous SMEs. And as Bhaumik Dada also pointed out that it's a debate for another day, who is indigenous or who is not. But we are also joined by, stay with us, gentlemen. We are also joined by Mohammed Amin, former Joint Director of Election Commission of India. Mr. Amin, thank you so much for taking time out. Sir, your learned opinion on the timing of delimitation. Was it due? Yes, it was due for a long time. Is there a connect? Should we see it in light of the NRC? And also, as our learned guests have also mentioned, and so has the Chief Minister also, about the indigenous SMEs, how are these factors guiding the Election Commission step of delimitation in Assam?
As you know, the Constitution Article 170 and delimitation process, after the time limit, they start and they leave the Election Commission as per their constitution. They give the all representative in all castes like SC, ST, and OBC and other communities. Proper representation as a voter to participate there in the country's assembly election and the parliament elections. This is correct. And so, in case of this agenda, they are saying that this is supported by the BJP. I am telling you, frankly, with the BJP, always you can find the delimitation commission. One retired Supreme Court judge is there always, and our commissioner is there one, and one the deputy commissioner and the secretary of the election commission. This delimitation commission. So the full commission has already visited there, and they have met every people of the community, all sectors, and after all party meetings, and after they have given the
right, Mr. Amin, it looks like
suggestions, and that is on the in front of them, and objections, and they requested for all parties objections they can file up to the 11th July. So how these they are taking?
There seems to be some issue with the audio, Mr. Amin. We will quickly work on it and bring you back into discussion. Meanwhile, Subir Bhaumik still stays with us. Dada, as Mr. Amin is also pointing out, the role of the Election Commission is basically, what he means to say is the job that they are doing is quite natural. But when it comes to the timing, that is one aspect of it, and the reason for which the discontent is brewing in Assam's Barak Valley against the Election Commission's draft delimitation proposal, that particular aspect is how best it can be addressed as of now, and not just by any government move, but by also connecting with the masses.
I mean, I agree with Mr. Amin that this is a natural exercise. I said that in my opening remarks as well.
Right.
That delimitation is something that keeps happening, that will happen, and nobody can really take an issue with that. But it's important to figure out how it is happening. And here, something is very important as far as the Assam context is concerned. If people are saying, certain organizations are saying that the interest of, if they're giving a specific figure, that the interest of the indigenous communities have been protected in 102 constituencies, by which they are making it clear that they have gone through the draft, they have information about the draft, they have information, if not about every single person who is there in the draft rolls, definitely they have a broad idea about the demographics of the, the voters list, and also how it plays out at the constituency level. So that is something that is raising the heckles, and this will continue to raise the heckles, regardless of the fact that this is a constitutional exercise that has to happen from time to time. The fact that some people are saying, oh, well, 102 constituencies, interests of indigenous people have been protected, means they know exactly how this is going to pan out. And, it's something like this. Before the NRC, there were some of these organizations who said, so many people will be thrown out. So many people, there are so many foreigners here. Now, about this whole issue of foreigners, we have got from different people, different figures at different point of time. L.K. Advani once said, there are 1 crore foreigner in Assam, which means, at that time, Assam's population was 2.25 crores. But that nearly 45% of Assam's population is foreigner. Somebody said 40 lakhs, somebody said 50 lakhs, various indigenous organizations themselves have, different figures. And nobody, if you ask them as an interpreted objective journalist, when I would ask them, what is the basis of your assessment? How are you saying 40 lakhs? What is your basis? Have you done an exercise? Have you sort of gone about door to door, without which this kind of a assessment is not possible? They say, no, we know it. We know it. It's like saying, it's like that bhavna logic about Ram Janambhoomi. It's not important whether historically there was a Ram Mandir here before Babur came and destroyed it. It's about the bhavna. So how can electoral process...
Now, there seems to be some audio issue. We'll get back Suvir Bhaumik online just now.
No, I'm back actually.
So it's okay, Dada.
So the
Please
point
carry
here
on.
I'm trying to make is that when people come up with these different figures about the foreigner population in Assam, somebody says 40, somebody says 50, and everybody says, we know it. When I ask them, can you give me the details? Now in 1980, there were riots in Tripura. The then Congress president, he's not alive anymore, Ashok Bhattacharjee, came and told me, I was a PTI journalist, 18,000 Bengalis have been killed. I said, give me the breakup district-wise. He was taken aback. He said, don't you believe me? I said, no, it's not a question of believing. I want detailed breakup.
Numbers,
otherwise,
yes.
I'm not going to carry this story because the state government is saying only 300 people have died. You are saying 18,000. So what is the basis of your claim 18,000? Here in Assam, if you ask this basis, then आपका basis क्या है? You are saying this and that, and what is the basis for this? Then they get very upset. They will call you a foreigner sometimes, and especially if I have the kind of surname that I have. I am eminently eligible to be called a foreigner in Bangladesh. So the point here is that objectivity has often suffered very heavily in all these exercises, and therefore there are genuine, fears or apprehensions, which, if the election commission is serious about its job, they will go about this exercise without fear and favor, without taking into cognizance or consideration what the ruling party wants. The ruling party might well want, as Sharma ji was saying before me, that they would want to win this election. They had 9 seats last time out of 14. This time they will find it difficult. So they may like to get 12 seats here.
Right.
And they may like to tinker with the population composition of the different constituencies. And they might like to organize have the delimit in a way. So the election commission, if it has to live up to its reputation as an independent body, I agree with Mr. Amin that election commission is a constitutional body, but they have to live up to it. Sometimes they have not.
True.
So they have to do their job properly. You do your job properly, right? Nobody asks any questions.
Right.
You don't do it properly. When the police in Manipur, somebody sides with Metis, somebody with cookies, this is not the proper way for the police to do it. Then questions are raised.
Well, definitely there would be questions, Dada. These are, get your point there. These are, the grey areas. The Election Commission, obviously, it's not the first time that it has come under the scanner. for being directed by the government.
blame.
But Dada, hold your thought there. Chandraprakash Sharma ji is still there with us, senior journalist, patiently waiting for us. Sharma ji, now the situation, as Shobik was also mentioning, that Mr. Bhaumik was also mentioning that the role as of now in these areas, the act of delimitation, especially in Kachar, Hailakandi and Karimganj, they are the nerve centers as of now. I mean, I can see the responses in our chat box also. People are saying that Kachar is, the foreigners are there. That's the hub for that. I want to understand from you, in the day-to-day life, do these things matter? Could you feel that palpable impact or the need or the fear on the streets or going by about your daily businesses in the market? Do you feel that thing in these areas?
There is a sense of insecurity all over in Assam. So far as the identity issue of indigenous people is concerned. And there is a divide between Assamese caste, indigenous people and Muslim, especially the Bangladeshi Muslim on the other side. There is Assamese Muslim also, but they treat them as Assamese, Khilonjia or Khomia Muslim. But so far as Bangladeshi Muslim, they treat them differently and they still consider them Bangladeshi. Although most of them are now Indian voters, they have valid Indian identity cards, Aadhaar cards or PAN card or whatever, they have even ration card. I don't think the Hindus have ration card, but they have all the valid Indian documents. NRC carried out by updation process was carried out by the government. And that has also established beyond a reasonable doubt that most of the so-called Bangladeshis have been included in NRC process also. Those who were left out were mostly Hindi-speaking people from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and other parts of India. They constitute a large section of the population, those who have been left out of the NRC process. So definitely there is a divide, but that divide is between indigenous people and the Bangladeshi. That is not something like Hindus and Muslims, which BJP wants it to be, to garner votes or to garner support in its favor. And that Hindutva card is also, you say, is not working anymore in their favor. That's why they are now playing indigenous, Masiha of indigenous people, and trying to steal the slogans of regional parties like AGP or Assam Jatiyatavadi Parishad or other parties. Because they know on the basis of Hindutva, they are not going to get the number it had in the last election, or they are going to lose even next assembly election if the election is process is taken place in future with this electoral process or with this voting voter list. So all this exercise is taken up with a view to incite a tension among the communities, to divide them along earlier on the basis of Hindu Muslims and now on the basis of indigenous and non-indigenous. And I think that this will be a serious threat to the integrity and even national security of the country in this part, which is already very sensitive. And one most important thing is this process is not going to solve the problem of indigenous people. I always stood for the indigenous people and their rights. Assam belongs to its indigenous people, indigenous tribal people, and they must get their fair share. But this is not the way. This is half-baked exercise, and it's not going to give any permanent result. They need safeguard. They need an updated NRC, free of foreigners, free of people, those who are not Indian or Indian voters, or those who have been enrolled in NRC by giving some bribes or whatever. I just don't want to go into that, because they have already blamed Pratik Hazela. They wanted a scapegoat, and they got Pratik Hazela, and they have filed an FIR against Pratik Hazela also. Earlier they termed NRC as a document which will solve all the problems of the Assam and Assamese people. And now, after spending 1,600 crores almost of the people of Assam, and now they are claiming that it's not a perfect document to define who is indigenous and who is not indigenous, who is Indian and who is not Indian in Assam. So,
Right.
people of Assam want an updated NRC. They want 100% reservation for the indigenous people in Constituent Assembly, and in Lok Sabha. So they are demanding 100% reservation. There could be a bargain. People of Government of India can give them 80%, 70%, so as to save Assam and people of Assam, especially the Assamese and indigenous people, because the state belongs to them. And those who have migrated from across the country or across the Bangladesh or other countries, they must understand that we have been given a shelter here. We have been given a shelter here to save ourselves and our family, and not to rule Assamese people.
Right, Mr. Sharma. One final question from you, Bhaumik Dada. The main point of contention, if we can cut through this chase, revolves around the elimination of multiple assembly seats. I'm just simplifying it down for the benefit of our viewers. And these seats have a Muslim majority. Now, these seats are currently held by legislators also who come from opposition parties. For BJP, as we have seen many critics mentioning, and as we are also mentioning on our screens about what the party has to say, be it TMC, Congress, AIUDF, all of them appear to be against the BJP. Now, Bengali origin Muslim community, those are the legislators that hold the power there as of now, and often subjected to as illegal migrants. How possible is it, that in your learned opinion, to have this kind of leadership, to have this kind of understanding in these areas, even after delimitation happens? Is it possible that they will be chosen once again, and that's why they are afraid that they won't be, or this can continue as normal?
Well, the whole exercise, in BJP's opinion, as Sharma ji was rightly saying, is to actually usurp the indigenous card from the Assamese regional parties. Okay. These Assamese regional parties, or some of them, were co-opted by the BJP, and became their allies. But now they realize what Mamata Banerjee realized long ago. Mamata Banerjee was also an ally of BJP, Trinamool Congress. In her quest to throw the left out of West Bengal, she went and joined hands with the BJP because she thought that Congress is not a good enough ally. Congress, and she came out of the Congress actually. Similarly, in Assam, Prafulla Mahanta, my good friend, and Fukan's party, the Assam Gana Parishad, they went and they came into an alliance with the BJP. And they fought elections together. But slowly these Assamese parties are realizing that in the name of co-option, BJP is slowly eating them up. BJP is digesting them up. BJP is not only taking their people away from them into their own fold, but also taking away their issues. And now, what Sharma ji says is right, that Chinta nahi. So, the thing is that, the BJP is taking away, and therefore there is a feeling of uncertainty and apprehension among the Okhomia regional parties that BJP is not a friend or an ally. BJP is going to gobble us up. And therefore this tension over the way the BJP is now trying to play the indigenous card, especially these parties were very upset when the BJP tried to play the religious card. Because for the traditional Assamese a politician, and especially those who believe in Assam's regional identity, Hindu-Muslim is not a factor. You know, the factor is different. Factor is language. Factor is, where they have come from.
Exactly.
So if you are from Bangladesh, then the traditional Assamese, you will have a problem. But they don't have a problem with Assamese, Khilonjia Muslims, Goria, Moria, and all these people, you know, and many of them were in the movement. But when the BJP comes into the picture, things slightly change. Now here, let me make another point.
Very quickly, Dada.
Out of the 2 million people whose names have been ejected or whose names have been erased from the National Register of Citizens, more than 1 million are Bengali Hindus. Now the BJP is in a big problem there because the BJP believed in a consolidated, religious consolidation, Bengali Hindus, Assamese Hindus, tribal Hindus all together. So here the BJP has a lot of explaining to do because a lot of these Bengali Hindus, they thought, oh, we have voted for BJP, we are safe. The Muslims were afraid. They got all the documents, and Sharma ji has outlined some ways about how things happened. I don't want to get into those details. But today, the Bengali Hindus were very confident that they have voted BJP and they will be part and parcel of Assam. They don't have to fear about their future. Many of them, including an auntie of mine who was born in Silchar in 1964, is not in the NRC. So she is ideally, quote unquote, a foreigner, an illegal migrant. But she was born in Silchar in 64. She studied in, a school in Silchar, a college in Silchar, MC College. But now she is not supposed to be an Indian because her name is outside the NRC.
So the practice of this NRC and maintaining that register, many flaws have come out. And as you mentioned, Subir Bhaumik also, yours and your aunt's case is just an example and a number to it. Thank you so much, Chandraprakash Sharma, senior journalist, and as always, Subir Bhaumik, author and senior journalist on Northeast region. Many thanks, gentlemen, for taking time out and speaking to News9 Live. And as the situation would have it, Assam is witnessing a 12-hour-long bandh, and obviously this bandh was given the call was given by the opposition parties. BJP is in power there, and they are against the proposed draft of delimitation in the state. The reasons were listed during this discussion. Thanks so much for watching this broadcast.
इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं क्योंकि सभी लोग कर रहे हैं
Coaching is now starting from grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
कोटा जाने वाली बीच राह में आधे टेस्ट देके हैं सिलेक्शन की चाह में ऑल इंडिया का बच्चा कोटा जाता है